All right, let's talk about that dreaded check engine light. You know the feeling, right? It pops on and your stomach just drops. But what if you could figure out exactly what it means? Well, today, we're cracking the case on a super common code, P0037. Let's get this investigation started. So, you plug in your little scanner and it spits out this number, P0037. It sounds like complete gibberish, doesn't it? But trust me, that light isn't just there to ruin your day. It's your car trying to tell you something important. And by the time we're done here, you're going to know exactly what it's saying. Let's turn that confusion into some real clarity. Okay, let's translate this technical mouthful into plain English. HO2S. That just stands for Heated Oxygen Sensor. Simple enough. Heater controls circuit low. That means your car's main brain, the ECM, sees a problem. Specifically, it's not getting enough voltage from the heater inside one of those sensors. And Bank 1, Sensor 2? That's the exact address. It's telling us precisely which sensor is waving the white flag. To solve this whole mystery, we really need to get to know our key witness, or maybe our prime suspect. And that's the oxygen sensor, or as most people call it, the O2 sensor. This little guy plays a huge part in how your car runs, and it's right at the heart of our P0037 investigation today. You know, this O2 sensor is a real multitasker. It's basically juggling two big jobs at once. First, its main gig is to sniff the exhaust and measure how much unburnt oxygen is coming out of the engine. The car's computer uses that info to constantly tweak the air-fuel mix to make it perfect. But, and this is the important part for our code, it can't do that job cold. So its second job is to heat itself up fast. It has a tiny internal heater that gets it to the right temperature quickly, which helps the whole system get into its most efficient state, something called closed loop. Now here's where things can get a little confusing. Your car has a few of these O2 sensors, and where they are is everything. Sensor 1, which they call the upstream sensor, lives before the catalytic converter. Its job is to watch the engine's performance. But our code, P0037, is pointing us to sensor 2, the downstream one. This one sits after the catalytic converter, and its whole purpose in life is to make sure the converter is doing its job and cleaning up the exhaust properly. So, how in the world do you find the right one? Well, here's a super handy rule of thumb. Bank 1 is always the side of the engine that has the number 1 cylinder. Find cylinder number 1 and you found bank 1. From there, sensor 2 is just the second sensor you come across as you follow the exhaust pipe down. Of course, the smartest move is to look up a quick diagram for your car just to be 100% sure. All right, we know what the code is telling us, and we know where to look. Now it's time to put on our detective hats. We're just going to follow a simple, step-by-step diagnostic checklist to figure out exactly what's gone wrong. Now the key here is to start with the easy stuff first. Don't just assume it's a sensor. First thing you do, get under there and give the wiring a good look. It's in a rough neighborhood under the car, so wires can get melted, cut, or just plain corroded. Next, check the fuse box. That heater circuit has a fuse, and if it's blown, well, that's an easy fix. Only after you've checked those two things should you even think about testing the sensor itself.
I love this quote because it just makes so much sense. The best way to think about that little heater inside the sensor is to picture the filament in an old light bulb. It heats up, it glows, it does its job, but eventually, after thousands of heat cycles, it can just burn out. And when it does, the circuit's broken, the computer knows it, and boom, you get that P0037 code.
Okay, we've run through our diagnostics. We have followed the clues. Now let's take a look at the lineup of the usual suspects and figure out who's really responsible for this whole check engine light mess. So, what are you going to feel from the driver's seat? Honestly, probably not much, except for that annoying light staring at you. Since Sensor 2 is mostly about emissions, you might see your fuel economy dip a little bit, and you'll almost certainly fail an emissions test. But as for feeling any major engine problems, that's pretty rare with just this code. And this chart, well, this chart basically tells the whole story, doesn't it? Yeah, you should absolutely check the wiring and the fuse first. But look at those numbers. A full 80% of the time, the culprit is a faulty O2 sensor. That little heater we talked about has just packed it in. A wiring issue is the next most likely, but a problem with the car's computer itself? That's extremely unlikely.
So, we've identified our number 1 suspect, and the evidence is overwhelming. It's time to close this case and talk about the final, definitive fix that's going to turn that light off for good.
And here you have it. Once you've confirmed that the wiring looks good and the fuse is okay, the most common and effective solution is just to replace that Bank 1 Sensor 2 oxygen sensor. It's a pretty straightforward job, and it gets right to the root of the problem. But wait, before you run out and grab a wrench, let me give you a huge pro tip. These O2 sensors are often crammed into really tight spots on the exhaust. You might need a special O2 sensor socket. It looks kind of funny. It has a slot cut out of the side for the wire to pass through. Having one can be the difference between a 10-minute job and a whole afternoon of frustration. Seriously.
So there you have it. The mystery is solved. The next time that little light pops on, you're going to be ready. By understanding how the system works, following a few logical steps, and knowing what to look for, you've turned a confusing code into a problem you can actually solve. The only question left is, what code are you going to tackle next?